This is my 23rd video on my attempts to construct a small 00 gauge layout. See part 1 for my reasons for doing this and my lengthy series on my N-gauge railway modelling for smaller and more complex scenery and smaller scale trains running. This part will just be a quick video covering some more Hornby Dublo 3-rail wagons that I picked up. I won't go into too much detail as I already made a video earlier on converting Dublo 3-rail wagons like these to run on my 2-rail layout. I picked up 4 more Hornby Dublo 3-rail tank wagons on eBay UK. If these old 3-rail wagons are placed on a modern 2-rail layout, they'll just short out the power as soon as it's turned up because their metal wheels and axles are continuous, providing a direct electrical connection between one rail and the other. I don't have any Trix TTR 3-rail wagons, but I gather they'll work okay on a modern 2-rail layout, as Trix ran the 2 outer rails separately electrically, hence TTR, Trix Twin Railway, as this arrangement allowed you to control 2 trains on the same rail separately. But with these Dublo wagons, the old continuous wheels and axles need to be removed and replaced before using the wagons, unless you're actually running Dublo 3-rail. Here you can see my tools for the job and the first wagon in progress. One axle has been removed and the bearing piece is to the side of the wagon. At back is a bag of replacement axles that I got from British model trains in Cambridge, Ontario. These are actual Hornby Dublo axles, but 2-rail ones, so there's an insulator separating the wheels electrically. The supply of these old axles was somewhat limited, so I wasn't able to get solid wheels for all of these wagons, so most of them will have to have spoked wheels. This wagon has already been fitted with 2 replacement axles with spoked wheels. The file at right is used to apply gentle leverage to the old axle to start the retaining tab unbending, then the small knife is used to pry the retaining tab straight so that the bearing piece can be removed. Here's the next wagon with one axle already replaced and the second axle removed. You can see the removed bearing piece at bottom left. The tab at top passes up through the wagon floor and is bent down on top to hold the bearing in place. The curved portion at the bottom hooks over the bottom of the axle box casting to hold the bottom of the bearing in place. The rounded end of the axle sits in the hole in the bearing piece. So these bearings work better with old Dublo axles that have rounded ends rather than new axles with spikes on the end. I put the one pair of axles with solid wheels that I had on this Royal LY and SR wagon. The axle on the right has already been replaced here. Here's that wagon with the bearing pulled for the other axle. It can be a bit tricky getting the new wheels in, as the pins that are cast into the base of the wagon to limit the travel of the coupling get in the way, and the rim of the wheel tends to get stuck on those pins. You just have to find the right way to wiggle the wheel past the pin and get the end of the axle into the bearing hole. Of course, you could just remove the second bearing if necessary, but I haven't found that it is. Here's that wagon with both new axles in place, or I thought so, but if you look at the left axle you can see that the end of the axle is beside the axle box, not in the bearing where it should be. It came out as I was reinserting the bearing and I didn't notice. So I had to remove the bearing piece again and refit it with the axle properly engaged. I was trying to illustrate here the problem of getting the wheel in past the coupling limiting pin, but the camera didn't focus properly. Still, you can sort of see, although you can't see the pin very clearly due to the poor focus. Here are all 4 new wagons with their replacement axles and wheels fitted. However, there's still one more thing to be done. The mobile wagon at right is missing the wire representing its tensioning cables on one side, another issue that often occurs with these wagons. Now I've replaced the missing tensioners with a piece of piano wire, bent as well as I could do it, and all the new wagons should be ready to run. So let's see a little video of them running. Okay, let's just see if we can get these Dublo wagons going as a slow freight train behind the Airfix 4F. We got the conversion wagon with the old wheels in at the front, and we've got a Triang horse box conversion wagon with plastic simplex couplings on behind between the tankers and the brake van. Probably not the best thing for the horse if there's a horse in it, and technically the front's not legal either, because legally there have to be at least 2 wagons between the engine and tank loaded, well, even anti-tank wagons, but anyway. For the moment I'm just running them like this because it isn't that easy to run other wagons with these heavy old Hornby Dublo things, because the Hornby ones are so heavy that if you put anything lighter in front of them, the pulling weight just tends to derail the lighter wagon at the front. All I've got in front of them now is that conversion wagon, which is loaded up with the old wheels off the Hornby Dublo tankers, so it's quite heavy. So there you go. Of course these should be slow because, I don't know, they don't even have stars on them, these wagons, so they would have been limited to 25 miles an hour, in fact, legally, I believe, running on a train at that time. We try for one more pass. And we'll just bring them round and stop them there in front of the camera if we can. So these have got their new wheels on. Of course they'd be shorting out the rails if they didn't have their new wheels on. The simplex couplings can be a bit of a problem. I have to take the pliers to a couple of them to make them work, because they do tend to get rather bent up, those old simplex couplings. There you go.